So welcome to today's experiment, and what I'm doing is taking some traditional Chinese mallets that when you buy traditional Chinese gongs, you get one of these types of mallets, which is material wound around the wooden shaft, and these are from various sizes. So this is quite a large hefty one down to a smaller mallet for a smaller wind gong. And I'm going to have a try, because I've got a number of these now, at seeing if I can use some bits and pieces I've got lying around after I did the camper van conversion, to see if I can make them into nice usable gong mallets. So I have, this was part of the mattress that is fitted in the van. It was a foam mattress, just needed a bit of shaving off to make it fit the contours of the van, so that's a bit of foam from that. This is from a headboard a bed that I stripped down and fitted in the van, and so this is material, a bit of foam from the headboard and some thinner pieces of that, and then also some wadding that came out of the headboard as well. So I've got those bits to try and put a bit more padding around here. This is the idea, that we're going to wrap these around to give a bit of cushioning. And then some good old sticky tape, electrician's tape, very Blue Peter this. A ball of string, some contact adhesive, which was left over from the van conversion, and an old black fleece, which is going to be my outside of the mallets. So let's see how this goes. So here I am with my first prototype and my 32-inch chow gong. I thought this would be a good type of gong to test the mallet out on, and so I've glued some foam and used the fleece around the head, and at the moment I've just used the electrician's tape to hold it in place, and if I'm happy with this, then I'll use some string and just make this a bit neater, but the head's looking nice and neat. So here we go. What I'm noticing about it is a nice lightweight mallet. There's a little bit of impact noise, and it does feel like a bit of a firmer mallet, but also it's bringing out some lovely tones from the gong. So definitely think it's worth persevering with this. Yeah, let's see. This one I'm trying is actually not a traditional Chinese mallet, it's this singing bowl mallet, and I'm going to try put in some foam around there, sticking it on with the glue, and I've cut a sleeve off the fleece, and that's going to be the outer skin, and see what that one looks like initially. This seems to be going well so far. I've done 3 mallets, and to give you a bit more idea of what I'm doing, I'm taking the traditional Chinese mallet, I'm using some of this foam and wrapping the mallet around the foam and using a bit of glue cutting this and folding it over so you get it folds over the top nicely. Then using some of the old fleece and pulling that into shape around the head of the mallet, pulling it tightly around here, and then using some electrician's tape around this point here as I'm pulling it in to try and get a bit of tension on there. Then to give it some extra strength, using some string, so put some string on, tie a knot, get 3 loops round, pulling it tight to hopefully, like I say, get some strength and pull it in a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do now is wrap some black tape around here to tidy up these bits where I've cut the fabric and bring that down so it's a connection onto the shaft. So here's one I prepared earlier, and that's what I've done there. So you can see that this is where the material comes up to, and then a few extra turns of the tape to bring it down onto the shaft and make it look a little bit neater. There we have it. Hi, so I've just spent the last hour or so making these gong mallets. More accurately, I've been adapting them from traditional Chinese mallets and other mallets, but I'm just going to give them a bit of a try out, and so you can see what you think of them. So these were the first 2 I made, and these were made out of existing mallets. They were wooden mallets that were more of singing bowls, quite a firm core on them, and I've put some felt around it. I put a double wrapping of felt on this one because I felt this one, I felt that this one was it needed a bit more padding around it. But it brings out some nice tones. It reminds me a little bit of, dare I say this is controversial, Dragonfly do some really lovely mallets, and it feels to me like one of they have some nice turquoisey blue, quite firm mallets, and it's got a similar quality to that. And brings out some really nice tones on the gong. This is a traditional chow gong. Still a little bit of impact sound with it, but nice. So this one was the similar mallet as a base, but I put a double wrapping of padding around it. So that brings out some slightly deeper tones you can hear. So that's those 2. These next 3 are all traditional Chinese mallets, and you can see maybe on the top of this one slightly the wooden core is poking out the top a little bit, and they're a bit of an odd shape. But I'm thinking that might bring out some nice qualities of the gong, different padding. So bringing out some lovely deep tones in the gong. Again, a little bit of impact sound, but not too much. Nice. And then this was a large traditional Chinese gong that came with, I think it was a 36-inch chow gong, so a real beefy mallet, and again I've put some padding and some fleece around it. There's nothing like the sound of a gong. Never, never, ever get bored of the sound of a gong. So, what's my verdict? Well, I think in terms of the mallets, and particularly this large mallet, the traditional Chinese mallets that I had them anyway because I'd bought gongs, they'd been delivered with a gong, and they were just in boxes because the impact from the material on the traditional Chinese mallets, you get a lot of impact sound and it brings out the higher tones. So sometimes with a large gong, you like to bring out the really deep tones. So for me, spending a bit of time adapting these to work in the way I want is definitely worthwhile. And considering that at these bits and pieces that I've adapted with, I had lying around anyway, then for me, it's been very worthwhile doing this. I'm not saying that I would start to use these in gong bass, but on the training courses that we do, we need lots of different mallets for people to try things out. And I think they definitely work for that purpose in giving people a chance to have a go on a gong and try out mallets. And yeah, they're not the most professional looking mallet. I'm not going to start selling these, but they do the job. And I think sometimes, there's another thing around, sometimes we think we need the best quality of everything. We need the right badge on the gong. I'm not going to mention any names, but sometimes we can get into that, and that's not always the case. We can adapt and make use of other tools, and entry-level gongs can produce some really beautiful sounds and are perfectly adequate for sound healing. And I hope that has given you a bit of inspiration maybe to have a go at making your own gong mallets. I've made drum mallets before, and so this was just taking those ideas a bit further and going, actually, these mallets are just lying around in a box. Can I make them into something more useful? And in terms of that, a roaring success. Rawr! That wasn't much of a roar, was it? Oh dear. See you in the next video.